Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting today on behalf of Leeds, and I will start talking today on a subject that's a lot of people may think not achievable. Shall we see, can we become a developed country? So let's start from a very basic thing. Let's review our own experiences of starting a new project. I'm sure in your own workplaces, you would have experienced these things, or if you're a leader, you might also recall instances where this may have happened. So if they ask the same question, so, okay, we'll go and ask and say, shall we work to become a developed country? You just ask from your colleagues and you say, most or 100% will say no. They will say, oh, there are no resources. How can we do that? We don't have the money, and so on. Others will say, oh, it's impossible. Don't even think about that. Some will don't want to even hear and say, forget it. Just forget it. Some will think it's a hilarious question and say, oh, are you kidding? Or some will think and keep silent, say, oh, he or she is mad, who is proposing this. So for this question, you go and ask from the same question in Sri Lanka, or different question, says, shall we work to reduce the waiting times in our hospital? You'd probably get the same answers. So this is what we usually hear in Sri Lanka. A project is dead even before it has started. So we don't even think about whether we can do anything to, for example, say, reduce the queues in a hospital. Okay, so the excuses that we normally hear, it's like we don't have the resources. This is a very common excuse, and that has been used. Or there are no competent leaders. Now, leaders needs leadership qualities. So we don't really try to train leaders or allow leaders to come up. For example, if take, when people went to space from Russia, was there anybody who's gone before that to the space, like Yuri Gagarin, for example? Or was there anybody who's gone to the moon when the Americans went to the moon? Was there anybody before that? No, you have to think about it. You have to think what resources you have. You have to think how to do it and so on. So you need competent leadership for that. And we have to allow leaders to come up. Some will say, oh, we don't have the knowledge. Of course, we don't have the knowledge. We have to find out how it to be done. And that's what leadership is all about. And the others will say, oh, it must be NGO. So if you propose something, they always are very suspicious and say, oh, he must be, or she must be seeking some dollars from somewhere very secretly. Or this must be an NGO supported by a country, a foreign country that is not really within the welcome group. Or say, oh, it must be an American trap or something like that. That's a common thing that we experience in this country if we propose something. So this is usually how the selfish will hide the truth. Now we'll have to get out of this culture to try to improve. Shall we work to become the best center? I put a word down here. You don't understand it. I don't understand it. And if it's in a developed country, somebody proposes this is what we are going to hear. Even if the proposal came from a junior, most staff member, or even a student. Explain this to me. That's what you will ask, because you didn't understand the title or what he said. You say it's a good idea, because sometimes the project proposal is so innovative, not many people understand, but it seems a good idea. So you have to at least promote the person who proposed it. Good thing to start is to write a proposal as to how to do it. So you show the methodology as to how to write a proposal and then take it forward from there. Then let's get it approved. That's the next step that the group together will consider. How can we fund it? You have to, obviously can't do anything free. You have to try to fund a project, and then we will help. Now, this is the kind of approach or what you hear most of the time if you propose something in a developed country. So even if you're a student, you don't get thrown out saying that's a rubbish idea, because some of the good ideas we may not even understand, because it depends on the basic knowledge or the thinking of the proposer. So what we really need in the country is attitude change. There is an attitude change needed, and that is the key that we need to do. So this is what we leads are trying to do. We provide facts and evidence to convince as many. The ultimate aim is to develop Sri Lanka. So, I mean, we've seen a common scenario in Sri Lanka. Loads of buses come to Colombo from time and then. They will have some kind of reason to come there. And most participants who come in these buses, they don't even know why they are protesting. They just do something, come here, spend the day, have their lunch, and then go home. So if you look at the damage in relation to their own time and what has happened to public property, etc. in the past, who pays for the damage and destruction? It is ultimately us. That means the working class are paying for all this, but they make no fuss at all because they don't understand that they are actually paying for this. And if you look at the people who are fighting like this, maybe the policemen or whoever with the protesters and so on, and who are on the ground fighting and damaging themselves, injuring themselves, is actually poor versus the poor. The leaders who are doing it on either side are not to be seen over there. So you can see that this kind of activity is no good for any of us. Take another example. 2 years ago, there was a proposal which was very difficultly set up by an individual for called CITEM, for medicine training. So this was killed it without helping it to enhance its quality assurance. There was a quality assurance issue, and that was brought up, but we never wanted to help it. We just all wanted to kill it. So our talented children now go abroad in large numbers seeking education. And out of them, say they go to Belarus now even. Now Manipur, Ukraine, China, Russia, UK, USA, France, Netherlands, from Sri Lanka, hundreds every year for medicine. So as far as I know, this last year for Belarus, there were more than 100 Sri Lankan children have gone to study medicine. Cost, average cost 5,000, range from 5,000 to 50,000 US dollars per year per student. And where's the money coming from? Our own dollar reserve. So imagine the reverse. If we had an institution like this, even if we didn't train any Sri Lankan students, we can attract all that money if we offer education to foreign university students in Sri Lanka, which we can do. We have the potential to do it, but nobody will allow this to happen. These are the problems we have. So who are the losers? Us, the working class. We do not even know what we are losing when we keep silent in these kind of issues. So you need to understand as to who benefits from these and who doesn't, and then think about how to react to these. Take world's developed countries. So we have developed countries, we have developing countries, and we have undeveloped countries. Now, today's talk about is to see how whether we can become a developed country. So we need to really find out what are the developed countries are like, what are the features that we need to have in a developed country. So if you look at the blues down here, the developed countries, you can obviously see the USA and North America and so on. You can see the Europe, the Norwegian countries, you can see there, the UK is there, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. So you can see that few countries are in a developed state. Then we'll see what is there in a developed country. What is the most important features in a developed country? And if you look at the green numbers, the green pictures you saw, and most of our people who are emigrating wants to get into one of those countries. And why are they running over there? Is it just purely economy? Obviously, they have a higher per capita income than us. That is very true. There's low incidence of poverty. There is higher standard of living. There is narrow income inequalities. There is low growth rate of population. There's low level of unemployment. And there's mastering science and education technology. There's infrastructure capability. Security is guaranteed. There's guaranteed healthcare. There's high development index. And then high quality of life parameters such as freedom, equal opportunities, etc. So if you look at these titles, let's see how we compare to these and then see whether we can achieve these or not. So let's compare a developed country with that of Sri Lanka, for example. Now we need a higher per capita income. Current income is about $3,800 per capita. So let's review our GDP. 1960, 70, 80, 1990, 2000. Then we have been doing well, 2010. Imagine this is the time we had the LTT war at the peak as well. Then it has improved since, but now we have started to drop. Since 2019, we've started to drop. So obviously, there was some problem that happened around that time so that we're not earning and we're not productive as much we were. To become a developed country, the target is only $12,500 per capita. So this is achievable for us if we concentrate ourselves and increase the productivity in the country. So the other incomes you have shown down here in Pakistan and Nepal, what they are like. So target, increase our productivity. So we'll have to see how to increase our productivity, which is a big topic, needs different expertise to talk and so on. Then low incidence of poverty. That is described in a developed country. So what is our status? This is from 1991. The blue ones are the poverty gap. And then the green one is the poverty severity and the head count. Now, all that has been improving over the years by 2015. So the poverty trends at national level of Sri Lanka during the period of 1990 to 2016 has been a very favorable one for us. So we could have improved. I don't know what has happened now, but we could have improved and used this to become into a developed status. Let's see higher standard of living. Now, this is where we have a problem. So all the red ones in here are areas that I've highlighted that has a problem. Let's look at higher standard of living. So higher standard of living is indexed by a quality of life index by country This is in 2021, mid-year, and here is the color. So highest standard is about 189. That's the greenest countries. Again, as you can see, which countries are greener, and lowest is 75. Now, if you see our people who want to emigrate, they are targeting all these countries for some reason. So developed countries are their target. Is it purely because of per capita income or more to it? So there are other features that they're looking for. This is an interesting slide for you to see. Now, this will tell you to some extent as to what it is. Now, for example, cost of living, quality of life index is on the y-axis, cost of living index on this axis. So you have lowest cost of living and lowest quality of living. It's not many countries over there. But you have lowest cost of living and highest quality of, lowest quality of cost of living and highest quality of living in, for example, Warsaw, Johannesburg, Budapest. See, these countries coming to that level. Now, if you go into this corner, imagine highest cost of living and highest quality of living. You can see in these countries, Singapore, Zurich, Tokyo, Hong Kong, they're very expensive to even go on a holiday. You can see why, because they have highest cost of living and highest quality of living. But imagine here, highest cost of living, like in this country, but lowest quality of living. See Beirut. See what happened to Beirut? We know recently what's happened. Complete bad management from politics. People were fighting in the government between 2-3 fractions. And then the country that was very good in 1960s became almost to a nothing this year. So the top 10 countries for quality of life. If you look at these, Finland, Denmark, Norway, so they're all Norwegian countries. They are the highest level, even in the quality of life. And then you have other countries like Belgium, Sweden, Switzerland, Netherlands, France, Germany, Japan, all about 90 for quality of life. And Sri Lanka, 69.5, very low in the ranking. So obviously, our quality of life in Sri Lanka is not the best that it can be. But the cost of living has gone up. So you can see the reasons, like, we are probably reaching something like Beirut if you're not careful. So I've shown this already about the quality of life, the green countries. Look at this, green countries. Again, the same countries that we were talking about are green. Say the lowest quality of living is in Afghanistan, Mozambique, Malawi, and so on. Even Pakistan is at a very low level. So you can see, quality of life and why we need to focus. It doesn't depend fully on the cost of living, and you can have a high quality of life with low cost of living. I've shown the pictures already for you. So we have to have a narrow income inequality. Now, this is important, and that is a feature seen in a developed country. And if you see this graph, this is various towns in Sri Lanka. This is Colombo. This is Kilinochchi. And the blue bars show the share of the household income of the richest 20% based on national household income. These are. So this shows the share of the household income of the richest 20%. So you can see Colombo where it is. So that's the percentage share of the household income in bars. So 70. So you can see is Kilinochchi is the lowest, There are other countries, say Candy, somewhere in the middle, and so on. So it's going down. Now, the percentage of households with household income greater than 80,000 or 81,380 lower limit for richest 20% in national household income decimal. So you can see this line again is highest here in Colombo, and then it reduces in the other cities. Then the dotted line shows the percentage of households with income less than 36,500 rupees. That is the upper limit for poorest 40% in national HH income, household income declaration. So you can see it goes up, up, up in the city. So you got more poor people living in this area. So our income inequality is high. This is something you need to address. Then low growth of population. Now, this is something that I think we had done reasonably well. You can see the percentage population growth rate, it's this graph, and you can see the percentage annual change in 2020 is 0.5%. So ours has been going down since 1970s, which is a good feature to become a developed country. You can see what has happened to, say, for example, Nepal and Maldives in comparison. Lower level of unemployment. You have to have job opportunities and you have to be productive to have employment. So you have to have projects that actually include people. It doesn't have to come from the government. People have to do it. And government has to do is to provide opportunities for people to do that kind of thing. So if you say low level of unemployment, see where we are heading. It was 4.6 in the chart in 2018. Now 2021, it's gone up to 5.7. So our unemployment rate is going up. This is not a good feature. It shows that people are not having opportunities, and that's the one that leads to more problems and disobedience and various riots and so on. So you need to focus on this to improve. Then science and technology. We think we have science and technology, and I think there are a lot of educated people who are trying to do it. And if you take the science and technology interpreted by the Global Innovation Index, then you will see that there is something that we can learn from this graph. So the red dots in this one are inefficient innovators. The blue dots are in the graph are efficient innovators. So they have made use of the innovation for their benefit. So you can see the countries like Switzerland, United States, Britain, Netherlands. So all their innovations bring back benefit to their own countries. So this is the income in the x-axis, GDP per person at purchasing power. So that's kind of income in the log scale that is being shown here. So here the GDP is also low, innovation index is also low. So these are related. So if you don't innovate, you're unlikely to be in a high GDP state. So we have to promote innovation. Innovation comes with research, and we will have to allow people to innovate. Sadly, the environment to do innovate or promote innovation in Sri Lanka is unfortunately not very satisfactory. See what has happened to Sri Lanka's innovation index. We're not doing very well at all. 2014, gone down almost nothing. 2020, 2021, there's a little bit. So this is because we're not promoting innovation in Sri Lanka. Say, when I was in the university, say 10 years ago in Sri Lanka, I asked from the vice chancellor, if I innovate something, and if we start producing some commercial product because of innovation, and what is the return that I will get as the innovator? He said, oh, we will need all the profits to the university because you are a university employee, but I'll give you a 25% increase for your salary. That's what our Sri Lankan attitude. I went to as a visitor to one of the Malaysian universities, and when I went there, they had a little room, which is they have converted to a laboratory, and they were producing a diagnostic kit for a particular virus, something like that. And it's developed in a very small room, but it's sent globally and they're making profit. So I asked on them, how did this happen? How do you innovate these things? And what does the innovator get? So if a university staff member innovates something in that country, in Malaysia, it's taken over by the university. So university will get it patented, find entrepreneurs to produce what was innovated, and then get sales arrangement, etc., worldwide. And out of the net profit, 30% goes to the university, 70% comes back to the innovator. So they do recognize and promote innovation, because that is what gets these indexes up in the scale so that the country can develop. So see the attitude in Malaysia, where how they promote innovation. You have to support the innovators to do this. I mean, we have seen in our papers, little children in Sri Lanka produce little innovative things, but they don't appear at all thereafter because nobody supports them to patent it, find a producer, and then so on. There's absolutely no government support for innovation. So individually, if you are a senior person, then teach the methodology of research, show examples, support patenting, and search for entrepreneur links. Now, this is how we can support research and innovation. It's good if the government can take a stand and then support research and innovation. Now, in a developed country, security is guaranteed. Let's see Sri Lanka. Security threats index, 0 is the lowest, 10 is the highest. This has been reducing from 2014 up to now. So we're not doing that well in relation to our security threats. So what does the security threat means? Now, for example, high level, if you take in the world map, I've taken some extractions from here. Afghanistan is 10. So Slovenia is 0.5, Portugal is 0.5, Singapore 0.7, the lowest. So what do you mean by the security? Security apparatus indicator considers the security threats to a state, such as bombing, attacks, and battle-related deaths, rebel movements, mutinies, coups, or terrorism. The security apparatus also takes into account serious criminal factors, such as organized crime and homicides, and perceived trust of citizens in domestic security. The higher the value of the indicator, the more the threats in the state. So we are 6.8. We are right in the middle of this. So we're not doing that well. We are like Ukraine or Papua New Guinea. They have done better than us. So, or say, for example, Austria, Switzerland, they're very low. So we need to improve this. This is not just by putting more forces on the ground or more police on the ground. It's a more wider thing that we need to do. So Sri Lanka, with a score of 4.08 out of 7, ranked 85th in the global competitiveness index, dropped from last year's 71st place. Neighboring India emerged as the top rank in South Asia at 39th place. So India is doing much better than us because they promote people to do their own things and make it efficient and productive. This is a radar plot, what is called a radar plot, which is a good kind of plotting to find out how we are to compare to a standard. Say, for example, this is blue is Sri Lanka. This is South Asia altogether. is here. We are doing well in some things like health, primary education, fourth pillar. So we are much better than Southeast Asia. But we have dropped in, say, labor market efficiency, we are below. Technological readiness, we are at lower level. And these from the other ones, like, for example, macroeconomic environment, we down. So there are lots of things that we can do better to improve or become right at the top of the scale of at least Southeast Asia, like in India. So we can learn from India what they're doing and see what we can do. So Sri Lanka slips in the ranking to 85th, mainly due to deteriorating institutional environment, lower goods markets efficiency, and infrastructure that is assessed as less well developed. So although we think our infrastructure is good, we are not really good enough. So we have to think how to improve our infrastructure. So healthcare, guaranteed healthcare, we have been doing well, but this is from 2020 March, January to March. Equipment reserves in relation to healthcare equipment and services, and actually started to drop. Not a good feature. We've been doing very well, but we're not doing that well, it seems to be. Now, development index, high development index. Now, this is the potential we have to improve. Development index goes from 0 to 1. And you can see the greener countries are countries with the potential to develop. Now, it is calculated, the Human Development Index is calculated using the life expectancy, education index, and the GNP. Those are the three things that's taken into account to calculate the Human Development Index. And Sri Lanka, we are just here, 0.76, just entering here. So we are at the bottom end, and we need to do more to improve this potential of development. So again, the top 10 countries of Human Development Index, Norway, Ireland, Switzerland, Hong Kong, and so on. So you can see that countries that we think are developed are the ones at the highest level of Human Development Index because they have the potential, they are creating the potential, like education, infrastructure, and so on. So let's see what a developed country is. Developing country is a sovereign state with a less developed industrial base and a low human development index relative to other countries, linked with low levels of access to safe drinking water, sanitation and hygiene, energy poverty, high levels of pollution, high proportion of people with tropical and infectious diseases, high number of road traffic accidents, generally poor infrastructure, widespread poverty, high crime rates, low education levels, inadequate access to family planning services, many informal settlements, corruption at all government level, political instability, high climate vulnerability, and development aid or financial aid given by foreign governments and other agencies. Now, I have put things in green, at least in areas where we can be at least satisfied a little bit, that although these are features in developing country, but we are improving in these to become kind of a developed status. But there are lots of reds, and you can see things there like political climate vulnerability, so many climate disasters, and we are not really prepared for any of these properly. Say, high number of road traffic accidents. We're not doing anything at all to reduce the road traffic accidents because there's no leadership to innovate way of reducing that. So these are kind of things. High level of pollution. You can see if you go to Colombo and somewhere how polluted we are. So there are issues that needs to be sorted. So can we become a developed country? People say, no, we can't. We are too small. That is wrong. So we have to get rid of that attitude and say, yes, we can, and see what we need to do, because we do have lots of expatriates who can help, who has the knowledge, who has maybe having the resources as well, and who can provide leadership to us. There are many natural resources in the country that can be used, and we are not utilizing those. And I'm trying to see whether there are people who can talk about other resources that we have. And what is positive is we have a motivated nation, because if you see the parents, all of them want their children to study. They go to this class, that class, and everything when they're younger, but when they get older, they don't have the opportunity to continue. So we have a motivated nation for education. That is a plus point for us. So what we need is the attitude. Let's try at least the attitude. So small developed nations are there because we think we are small, but we are not really small. Say, for example, population-wise, we have 21 million. Australia is a developed country. You saw it's the green map all over. Per capita income, $55,000. We have only $3,000. Only 25 million population, very similar to our population. Netherlands, income $52,000 per capita. Only 17.2 million, so they are smaller than us. Belgium, 46,000 income in dollars per capita, and they have only 11.4 million, so half the population to what we have. Sweden, income $51,000, and their population is exactly half of us. So even as a small nation, we can improve, we can become a developed country. And you can see none of these countries are actually saying, oh, we are on this, so they're mostly independent, but have negotiated and various contracts and etc. with other countries. Not like us, we don't say we don't want this or that country and so on. You have to work with them. It's a global interaction that we need to improve. So what we need to focus, we have to reduce wastage of public money. So this is from yesterday's paper, which I saw. Bad bills, this was editorial. There's another tax bill. Government wants more money from the people. Protected values of humanity and democracy have been placed under threat by a political power. This is why, because the Supreme Court has rejected some of the contents in this tax bill. Now, is this a really thing what we want to do? We have to stop corruption, particularly corruption of public money. You don't need to tax more from people. If you stop corruption, there's a lot of money will be saved for public use. This is what our government needs to do. So if you look at the corruption perception index for Sri Lanka, you can see the greener countries again, the corruptions are lower in these countries. Then you can see us. Here we are somewhere here, 30 to 39. So we are a corrupt country, and then our score is 37, and the rank is 102 out of 180. And you can see it has slipped in 2021. So the corruption is a major problem for us, and there's a need to address that for us to save public money so that we don't have to tax people more and more money. And we need to increase productivity. So without energy, you can't increase productivity. Look at this, 5 hours of the day, our country's in the dark at the moment. There's no power. Now, without power, you can't be productive, can you? So these are basic things that we need to think about if we want to be productive. Take, for example, education. This is another basic thing that we need to do to be productive. This is from UGC data that I have converted to see the percentage eligible for university admissions every year and percentage admitted. So you look at the percentages. So we take about less than 10% into the universities, 1990 to 2017. Look at this. So we have not really increased the number that is admitted into our universities. And we leave all these people who are qualified, but with no places for them to find their own ways of learning. Even that get blocked. So university admission wise, we say we don't have money or we don't take anymore because there's no space, etc. That is not really an explanation. That needs to be changed. So we have to improve educational opportunities at all ages and levels. And if you look at, say, for example, UK, for example, percentage of international students in the UK, look at this, the number of international students in the UK has gone up and up and up and up. What this does mean? This means these students pay money back to the universities, and that's national income for the United Kingdom. And also they get promoted as an educational country, which provides education to the world. So why can't we do that? If we have some international students in our country, then we can do that. We don't have any opening for international students in our national universities. There's some very small number, like a 0.1 or 0.2%, but that's not enough at all. So in most developed countries, every university allows 25 to 30% international students in the universities. So their popular courses get filled up, as well as they can grow, they can innovate the projects so they can improve their education capability and earn the money, so you can put it back into our own students and a larger number. So Leeds is about this. We are trying to learn, educate, assess, and decide for Sri Lanka. So we need people with knowledge and resource to come forward and talk, and at least, give us an outline and leadership how to proceed. Now, this picture I took this morning from the papers in Sri Lanka, published. Somebody is acknowledging the visionary chairman of the John Keells Holdings Group from 1990 to 2000. So he's summarizing what leadership qualities this person had. Is still living now, apparently 81 years old. So he qualities, you can see that he was the leadership, he was providing this at the age of between 50 and 60. And our senior people can also still contribute significantly to our development if they come forward. So that's what I'm seeking at the moment. So please come forward to provide leadership to our motherland, because without that, we can't go forward. So Leeds contact is this, if you can contact. So we are open to suggestions and discussions.